What is up, people? Another fight week ahead. It's UFC Newark, and guess what? Your favorite duo is back to break down this card here on the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. That's right. We are the breakdown here on the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. I'm your co-host, Max Friedman, Trademark MMA on Twitter, and I got my man Scoop City over there in the Netherlands coming at you. Big Marcel Dorf. What's going on, my friend?
What's going on, man? Good stuff. I'm still have a week vacation, so that's also good. And yeah, happy to go back to break down some fights with you. And how are you doing, man?
I'm feeling good. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Chicago. Can't complain. But so how you spending your vacation now? You get this time off. Are you just cranking out Fight Pass live events? Well, what's happening?
Mostly Netflix, man. But just relaxing and all. Not nothing really too busy stuff because it's pretty hot over. Not as extremely as last week. That was all awful, but still pretty hot. Like
And
yeah,
of
I can.
course, never falling short on your MMA DNA duties. Is those always are churning out the great work over there.
Vacation doesn't exist when you're an MMA. It's just like that.
That it does not. But we got a big event coming up this weekend. Want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. Some great shows on this network. You can get it wherever you find your podcast: iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud. Just hit that subscribe button. It'll get delivered right to you each and every week. Got that Not Safe for Work MMA show. A great new episode this week talking some John Jones, some Chris Cyborg, Kyle Steele, Fred Kirby. They take off the filter, so don't listen around those families. MMA yesterday, Keith and Kyle break down the events of years past. We got the Sunday morning corner man just rolled out, Keith Schill and John Franklin, a great retrospective look at the fight on Sunday morning. Kind of once you've had that time to sleep and process everything, they look ahead, see what's going on, what's next. And then, of course, Between the Links, a great show, very unique concept, ESPN's version of Around the Horn for MMA. Mike Heck, the great Mike Heck, hosts that show, and some really awesome panelists, Davidson Baker, Craig Allen, Keith Schillen. Those guys are funny, man. They go back and forth on that week, on that show each week. Had Nick Baldwin on from Bloody Elbow last week. This week have Michael Fidel from the Body Lock MMA and Flow Combat. Highly encourage everyone to check that show out. It is something else. A great episodic show each and
By the
every week.
by the way, about someone taking off the filter. What about Keith Chillen against Nick Baldwin at that last part? It really had me rolling over again, man. I was watching that at 3 a.m. and I was so hard laughing. I think somebody woke up. So it's such a that was a pretty awful joke, but it was so funny.
So the Not Safe for Work MMA shows where they take off the filter, but Keith Schillen just lets it fly whenever he wants. I'm pretty sure he has about 3 or 4 drinks before every show and just lets it go before Between the Links. But definitely everyone check that out. Before we look ahead to UFC New Jersey, we had an event last weekend, UFC 240, and it was Big Marcel's first event since turning 30 years old. And for the second straight week, he walked away with the win. So 1-0 as a 30-year-old. Big Marcel,
Yeah,
eight and
thanks for
three on
pointing
the
that out.
8-3 on the evening. I had a respectable 7-4, but unfortunately, while I did hit 2 bonuses though, hit on Jeff Neal and the fight of the night, Pantoja and Davison Figueiredo, great flyweight fight there. Should have been on the main card, if we're being honest.
Sure.
But we look ahead to the standings. Marcel closing that door, 162 and 133 on the year. I am at 170 and 125, all knotted up at 22 bonuses. And I have a commanding 9-5 lead in the underdogs category. But we look ahead this weekend, UFC on ESPN 5. I
Dude,
don't know how my co-host feels about those
that's
numbering
okay.
of events.
That's okay as long as not at the plus thing that because that's stupid I think. But hey, I gotta say, man, I had the first 3 picks wrong last week, right? 8 and 3. I had
Um,
the,
no, well, so
the first
last
three of the
week
card.
you had yeah, we both had Kyle Stewart, we both had Sarah Frota, and we both had Pantoja, so we both got all 3 of those wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm on an 8 fight winning streak right now. So
Oh
beat
yeah, call you Leon Edwards, you're on an 8-fight winning streak.
I got
Anyways, UFC on ESPN 5, UFC Newark. takes place on Saturday, August 3rd, 2019 at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. This is the 8th time the promotion has been to the Pru. The last time, 2016, fight card in January headlined by Anthony Rumble Johnson and Ryan Bader. This is a daytime event, so a very nice treat for those that like the early cards, and I'm sure Big Marcel is happy. He does not have to spend the wee hours of the morning watching this fight card. How do you feel about that, Big Marcel?
It sucks, man, because yeah, I really mean that because I'm kind of lucky because we would have been to a birthday party, but that's canceled, so I don't have to go there. But dude, my favorite team is playing around the prelims, so I will definitely miss the prelims. My favorite team goes before everything.
What
So
about the dual screen? You get one on the other, one. You
yeah,
get maybe
man,
one on your computer, one on your TV.
I'm from poor beginnings, bro. I don't know. Nah, man, I never do that. I just rewatch it. Listen, if nothing is at night, I can watch the prelims at night. So
All right, valid.
or other events.
Well, no one's ever going to question your fandom. I was just, I figured maybe the early start time would hook it up, but I guess you have other sports obligations too. So you'll watch the
Listen,
prelims when you do.
I watch every
But
MMA over. Listen, my team's soccer team. I watch every MMA over soccer, but my team goes always first over for everything. So
nothing wrong with that. Got to support your squad there. We kick things off at 125 pounds on the women's side with two newcomer fighters. Hannah Goldie is a minus 165 favorite against Miranda Granger. Let's start with Granger, who is a plus 145 underdog. Danger. She is 27, 6-0, 6 submission finishes on her resume. One of two fighters on this card to have that Danger nickname. She's a veteran, well-respected Cage Fury Fighting Championships Northeast Regional promotion. I believe she was the champion there. Goldie now 5-0, also 27. She trains out of Fusion Excel in Florida. That's a team that doesn't get enough credit as they deserve. Julian Williams is one heck of a head coach down there. Used to be with Alex Nicholson. I believe the two have a child together. No longer a couple, but still teammates on at Fusion Excel. She recently won a decision on Dana White's Contender Series, besting Kaylee Robbins in that one. Big Marcel, first fight of the evening. Two newcomers. What can we expect?
yeah, first we have to say that both normally fighting in the strawweight division and now fighting in the flyweight division because of this short notice fight. Miranda Granger, I'm impressed with her, man. CFFC, she did very well. She had two fights there, both quick finishes against Jamie Khalid and Eloisa Azevedo. Um, Before that, also a win against Amy Montenegro. So, and all finishes. So you can't question her. I mean, but what we'll do in the later rounds, we all don't know that. This, on the other side, you have Hannah Goldu, who has like five fights, she has four decision wins, but she has a big win on her record against Gillian Robertson, I think, and her fight against was it against Callie Robbins, I think, at the Contender Series a few weeks ago. I don't think it was that great, but she definitely won that fight. She didn't get a contract, but she got it 2 or 3 weeks later. So yeah, hard to say, man, but gut feeling. I gotta go gut feeling, man. I learned that last week because my gut feeling first was Gillian Robertson and I switched to Froda. So I'm not gonna do that again. I'm going with my gut feeling is Granger. I'm taking Miranda Granger in this one.
Goldie is well rounded and she seems confident. You look at her social media, very athletic, very in shape. I love the way Miranda Granger snatches limbs, and she has some really decorated jiu-jitsu. I think this is going to be kind of a dog or cat fight, maybe, if you're talking women's side. But this is going to be a back and forth battle. My gut feeling also says Miranda Granger, but I don't think she finishes her. I think she gets it by a split, very close split decision. What was your method of victory, Big Marcel, for Miranda Granger?
Um, I think let's go all in. We're picking a submission in the first round. Pretty crazy,
Wow.
but I'm going just all in.
All in. Going with your gut, taking
Yeah.
Miranda Granger to kick things off. We move along now. Second fight on the prelims is at welterweight as Claudio Hannibal Silva takes on Cole Williams. Hannibal Silva is a minus 410 favorite. The short notice replacement Williams is a plus 330 underdog. So Claudio Silva, 4-0 in the UFC, back-to-back submission wins since coming off a 4-year layoff. Man, this guy's got some of the best no-gi jiu-jitsu in the division. I know it doesn't make sense rankings wise, but I would love to see him fight Damian Maia. I think that would be an awesome fight. Meanwhile, Hamazan Amaev would have been a great fight, experienced visa issues. He's out. In steps the veteran of the game, Cole Williams. And I'm excited to see Cole Williams get this opportunity. He's 11-1, 35 years old, not a typical UFC signing. He was a contestant on Bellator's Fight Master, if you remember the Ultimate Fighter knockoff, if you will, in 2013. Went 3-1 on that show. 3 dominant finishes before losing to the eventual winner, Joe Riggs, via a close split decision in the semifinals. His lone loss all the way back in 2009 to Eric Wisely, who was also recently signed to the UFC, has won 9 straight fights since then. And I know the guy has had a ton of trouble finding opponents ever since that Bellator Fight Master show. He's tried numerous times to get a short notice UFC opportunity. Very tall order for him on short notice, but I'm happy to see him get the opportunity here. Big Marcel, you going with Silva, the big favorite, or does the newcomer stand a chance?
Man, you stand always a chance, of course, but I would be stupid not taking Claudio Silva, man. He's been doing so well in the UFC so far. I mean, he was out many times with injuries or whatever, but he's always showing it, man. And yeah, what can you say? I think the last fight we talk about that submission win over Danny Roberts. I still think he said tapped, and Roberts didn't say tap, and the ref thought he said that. So for some reason, but I think he's a good fighter, man. I'm pretty high on him, to be honest. Cole Williams, he comes from a regional circuit, pretty much from Pinnacle Combat, and yeah, what can you say? He's a good fighter, but I don't see him winning against Claudio Silva, man. This is such a tough debut. I'm happy for him. He finally got his chance. I hope he gets another chance. But dude, Claudio Silva and on short notice as well. Nah, man. Silva TKO second round.
It just seems like such a tall order on short notice. Having that full camp, I think he probably performs a little bit better. Also, I want to point out something our boy Sean Bitter pointed out on social media. Williams has been fighting at 185 his last 2 fights, so now he's going back down. So he's got to do a short notice camp with a weight cut. Definitely a tough means there. Give me Silva via submission in the second. All right, we got ranked flyweights on deck here. Lauren Murphy taking on Mara Romero Barella. Barella is a minus 165 favorite. Lauren Murphy, lucky, is plus 145. Barella, the Italian, she's quietly 2-1 in the UFC. That lone loss, split decision to Caitlin Chookagian. Trains an American Top Team, very well-rounded fighter. Lucky Lauren Murphy trains at MMA Lab, another very respected gym. 10-4, 1-1 in her second UFC stint. That brings her overall UFC record to 2-4. Solid competitor, but seems to lose the fights she's expected to lose. And as the underdog, I feel like that's going to be the case here. Barella seems like the better fighter. Shout out to Alfredo Zulino at Frey on Twitter. I'm picking in favor of Italy this time, not picking against the Italian. I'm taking Barella here with a unanimous decision. Big Marcel, where are you at?
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I think not the fight I'm looking forward to. Honestly, this fight was actually first booked for UFC 240 in Edmonton. I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Mara Romero Barella also very underwhelming performances in the octagon so far. Besides her UFC debut, I mean, the Tyler Santos fight wasn't that great. I think she won by split. She should have won by unanimous. I think. Lauren Murphy, she lost the last one, but in my opinion, she lost the last 3-1. I think Bob Honchak won that fight, but I don't want to talk any shit about Lauren Murphy because I honestly I like her. So. Man, I'm taking Romero Barella by split decision, but yeah, another fight I'm really looking forward to. But hey, let them surprise me.
Taking Barella as well. And did you say decision?
Split decision, yeah.
Split decision. Okay. All right, well, we go ahead to ranked flyweights on the men's side. Number 14, Matt Danger Schnell taking on Jordan Espinosa, number 9. This betting line is flipped. Espinosa started as a minus 135 favorite. He's down to minus 105. Now Matt Schnell, a minus 115 slight favorite. Big Marcel, start this off in the men's flyweight division.
Yeah, man, Matt Snell, coming from the Ultimate Fighter with all those champions back then. Then he took the short notice fight against Rob Font, lost. Also lost to Hector Sandoval, and then had to fight for to stay probably in the UFC. But he won three straight since. And his last fight against Louis Smolka was pretty impressive, man, with a triangle choke in the first round. On the other hand, you have Jordan Espinosa, two times Dana White Contender Series veteran. Won both of his fights. Last fight he won against Raleigh Dutro in the last 2 or 3 seconds, if I remember correctly. And then his debut against Eric Shelton, which was pretty close, I think, but he got the win. It will be a fun fight. I think almost every flyweight fight is fun. I wanted to say every ranked flyweight fight is fun, but all flyweights are pretty much ranked. So,
There's no
uh,
such thing as a non-ranked flyweight fight
nah.
these days.
So I'm taking Schnell, man. I think Schnell will win, probably by being too handy on the ground. I think Schnell will probably edge out a decision or a late submission victory, going with a decision, unanimous decision win for Matt Danger Schnell.
Yeah, Schnell, you mentioned the three in a row, coming off perhaps his two strongest performances to date. Has that really talented group of flyweights and bantamweights, including UFC double champ Henry Cejudo at Fight Ready Gym to do his fight camps. Espinosa, very fast and athletic for 125, has shown the tendency to fade. But I think he just might be a little too fast, a little too elusive for Matt Schnell at 125. If this fight was at 135, I kind of favor Schnell here, but give me Espinosa in this one. I think he's able to kind of handle himself, stay on the outside, land some nice shots. Give me a decision for Jordan Espinosa. All right, we're sticking around at 125. Wow, this is the fourth straight 125-pound fight and fifth of six. Antonina Shevchenko taking on Lucy Pudialova. Shevchenko, number 15 in the rankings, minus 145 favorite. Pudialova out of the Czech Republic is plus 125 underdog. Pudialova, exciting fighter in her own right, but really has had some tough matchmaking, and she's in dire want of a need here. She's suffered back-to-back losses, although both competitive. Striker at heart, tough, active on the feet. I don't know if she's going to be quite as technical as Antonina Shevchenko. Curious to hear your thoughts on that. But meanwhile, the Panthers, Shevchenko 1-1 since joining her sister in the UFC, coming off a decision loss to Roxanne Modafferi. Really one of the more highly decorated strikers in the women's flyweight division. It'll be interesting to see how she rebounds from her first UFC career loss. Big Marcel, Shevchenko, number 2, Lucy Pudialova. Where do you see this one going?
Yeah, man, it's honestly, I'm not really into this fight, to be honest. I think Antonia Shevchenko, she has some pretty good stand-up, as you can expect from a Shevchenko sister. But I don't know on the ground, man. I'm not convinced. And Lucy Pudilova, she's always in bloody wars, but I'm also not convinced in her capability of take or how do you say that, can end a fight in a way that he should be, So I think Shevchenko will try to keep her on distance with kicks and all, and she probably point out a decision, but it's not a fight I'm looking forward to, honestly. I know many people do,
Give
but
me
I don't.
Give me Shevchenko to land one of those nasty body knees to the body, and put down the Czech Republic's Pudialova. And it's a shame because I do like Lucy Pudialova. I don't want to see her lose the third straight, but give me Shevchenko in this one. TKO in the second round. Headlining the prelims here, New Jersey's own Mickey Gall taking on Salim Touari. Touari, this is another betting line that's flipped. Touari now a minus 125 favorite. He opened up as high as plus 130 as an underdog. Mickey Gall plus 105 underdog. Kind of hard to know where Mickey Gall stands right now. He's 4-2 in the UFC. Granted, 2 of those wins are against CM Punk, Phil Brooks, and Mike Jackson. But coming off a loss where he was really dominated by Diego Sanchez, and he was a big favorite in that fight too. But he'll have the crowd behind him, that's for sure. Touari, very much in danger of losing his UFC roster spot in a very crowded UFC welterweight division. He's 0-2, losses to Warley Alves, Kaita Nakamura. He's 29 years old. He's come from Poland. And if you're asking me, he hasn't really shown any kind of fight-changing instincts, any big power, any finishing abilities. To me, this fight is all Mickey Gall on paper, and I see it going kind of the same way how he did against George Sullivan, drags it to the ground, snatches the neck for a submission. Big Marcel, what are you seeing in this one?
So, like you said, this is a pretty difficult fight to pronounce, to predict, because Mickey Gall, probably his biggest win is against Sage Northcutt. I don't think George Sullivan is the biggest win, to be honest. Salim Touari, very underwhelming so far in the UFC, man. 2 losses. Um, I'm I'm actually wanted to pick a draw here, but I'm not gonna do it. Uh, take me. I really don't know, man. You take Mickey Gall, let me pick Salim Touari by split decision. I don't know. I really don't know.
Take Big Marcel, I believe a draw for this fight, and if I have it up here, is plus 19,000 on 5 dimes. So you want to put down $1, can win 19, win some money there. But it's not. Hey, you never know, man. Stranger things have happened.
I'm not gonna do it, but if it will be a draw, I'll be so pissed.
Maybe I'll put one for you just to see for the heck of it.
Okay.
All right, we head to the main card here and kicking things off in the light heavyweight division. Darko Stosic taking on Kennedy Nzechukwu. Stosic minus 130, Nzechukwu plus 110. It's a quick turnaround for Darko Stosic. Suffered that decision loss to Devin Clark in June. Now 1-1 in the UFC, 13-2 overall. Long rangy striker is Nzechukwu. He's out of Fortis MMA, the African Savage, as he's known as, 6-1, coming off a submission loss to Paul Craig late in the fight in his UFC debut. He was more than a 2-1 favorite in that one. Man, he's going to need to stick to his lengthy striking in this one because we know the power that Stosic presents. Big Marcel, you going with the foreigner, Stosic, or the I guess they're both foreigners because Nzechukwu is from Africa, even though he trains in Dallas. Who you got in this one?
Yeah, this is a typical fight. Like, how long does this fight go? I mean, we also Stosic had really much problem with his cardio in the Clark fight. Um, Nzechukwu, in my opinion, pretty underwhelming debut against Paul Craig, although he was leading probably 30-27 on the scorecards before getting caught in a submission. So if Stosic can finish this fight in the first round or first 1.5 round, Nzechukwu will probably win a unanimous decision here. That said, I think Stosic land a punch, and I think Stosic wins this one by TKO knockout in the first or second round. But I wouldn't be surprised if Nzechukwu wins by unanimous decision this one.
I'm seeing exactly what you said on the Nzechukwu side. I think he uses range well, sticks to his striking game, and will have a much better sophomore UFC outing coming out of Fortis MMA. Give me Nzechukwu, unanimous decision in this one.
I honestly hope so because 0-2 doesn't do him right, man. I think so. Yeah.
No, absolutely not. Lightweights on deck now. Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman is a big minus 350 favorite against Dong Yan Ma plus 290. This could be a fun stand-up war here. This is a sleeper pick for fight of the night. I always want to call him the Maestro Dong Yan Kim. He has since changed it to Dong Yan Ma. 3-3 in the UFC, coming off a bad loss to Devontae Smith. But prior to that, he had won 3 straight. Meanwhile, Hot Sauce Holtzman, similar situation here, had his 3-fight win streak snapped recently. Decision loss to Nick Lentz in that one. Looking at it, Holtzman, bigger, stronger, more athletic. I think Ma might be slightly more technical, but that said, Holtzman, man, that guy can take a hell of a punch, and I'm not sure I can see Dong Yan Ma being able to hold him down. Give me Hot Sauce Holtzman TKO late. Where are you at with this one, Big Marcel?
Man, I haven't forgot Scott Holtzman against Alan Patrick. That opened my eye on Holtzman, man. I mean, and against Lance, that was a fun fight, but yeah, he lost 2 of those rounds, so he lost that one. Dong Yan Ma, who doesn't remember his fight against Paulo Reyes, man? That was the first fight of UFC 199, and it was the fight of the night.
Should have been fight of the year for 2016.
Yeah, what was that? That was, I think, Swanson against Choi got fight of the year that year.
Yeah.
A good one, man. Both Koreans, by the way. Yeah, we can also say both Americans on the other side. So I don't know. Reyes is Mexican. I'm sorry. So Holtzman against Ma, man, taking Holtzman in this one, and I think he will come through with a punch in the first round, and I think he will put him away by TKO with ground and pound. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that Alon Patrick fight, man, that opened a lot of eyes because
Yeah,
he was dominant bell to bell, avoided the strengths of Patrick and really put a beating on him. That was a great performance. But
yeah,
Nick Lentz also an entertaining fight, but kind of came up short in that one. Um, went the right way. Although you remember in that fight, Nick Lentz then on this post fight interview was like, "That guy's top 10, maybe even top 5."
yeah. I remember. And by the way,
that was
Nick
that was
Lentz,
funny.
he is going. How do you say that? He won by unanimous decision in a hard fight. So let's put him against BJ Penn.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that's a story for another time, or a full hot debate topic for a discussion. I would imagine that's probably being discussed on Between the Links
Yeah,
this week. Have not had a chance to discuss it yet.
you know what it is? I feel bad to talk about it because I don't want to do BJ any dirty by saying he should stop and he's done and that kind of stuff. Because guy's a legend, man. I don't like to talk about legendary fighters like that, but in the back of our minds and in our heart, we all know how we think about it, right?
Yeah. More to follow on that, perhaps in a different episode.
Sorry.
Uh, we go to middleweight division for the next one. Another fight that could be a fight in the night sleeper. There's a lot of these on this card. Gerald Mearshart taking on Trevin Giles. Giles is a minus 165 favorite. The real GM3 Mearshart plus 145. Big Marcel kicked things off with this fight at 185 pounds.
Yeah, man, Gerald Mearshart, I really like the dude. I think he can do the stand up thing very good, but he prefers to be on the ground, man. We saw that in many of his fights. He tries to take his opponents down and try to submit them. Last two fights he lost. In my opinion, he lost. He won his last fight. He got robbed, but I know Max disagree with me, but I don't give a shit. Trevin Giles, man, he had a high ceiling coming into the UFC. He had 2 wins. Coming off LFA, where we defeated Ryan Spann for a split decision, but he came up short against Zach Cummings last time out by guillotine choke. So it's hard, man. He did get tagged by a punch by Cummings, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's what set up the guillotine.
exactly. So I don't know, man. But if Mearshart can take him to the ground, I see Mearshart taking this win probably. But Giles is fucking tough, man. Give me Giles by decision, but I won't be surprised if Mearshart wins this one because I think Mearshart also his record doesn't do him right. Although you think Kevin Holland won that fight, I don't know what fight you have been watching, but yeah, okay. I love your serious look.
That was a close one for sure. I mean, had it gone the other way, I wouldn't have said it was a robbery in favor of Mercer or anything like
No,
that.
because he won.
But
Because then it wasn't a robbery. So
all right. Regardless, now Merchart has lost back-to-back fights, and this is actually the last fight on his contract. Something to point out here. He might be on the hot seat as well. He's had his moments in the Holland fight, has shown the ability to be resilient, come from behind. I mean, those victories over Oscar Picota and Eric Spicely, those were really impressive wins. And one thing I want to point out about Gerald Mearshart, this might be just a little personal, but as a jiu-jitsu practitioner myself, I've competed in some tournaments around here. Milwaukee's not too far from Chicago, about an hour and a half. And Gerald Mearshart is at every single jiu-jitsu tournament, cornering and coaching everyone from kids aged 7 and 8 all the way up to folks in their 60s, regardless of belt level. It's really cool to see him just really work the jiu-jitsu game. Him and Biggie Mike Rhodes, shout out to both of them. Those guys are always around helping out their fellow gym mates. Meanwhile, Houston's Giles, you mentioned it, made kind of a fatal mistake in that last fight against Zach Cummings. I mean, he was well ahead on the scorecards, should have gotten that win, but now 11-1 overall, 2-1 in the UFC, has to bounce back from his first loss. I kind of favor Giles on the feet here. Mearshart, definitely the better grappler, but going to be hard to actually get a submission, especially for someone who moves as well as Giles does and is pretty well-rounded in his own right. But I'm going to go ahead and give Giles here. Give me the late TKO third round. But I like Gerald Meerschaert, man. Regardless of win, lose, or draw, I hope the UFC resigns him. He's a fun guy to watch. Really brings an exciting style. And yeah, what more can be said there?
Yeah, he shouldn't actually be fighting for his contract right now because he should have been had a win on his record the last fight. But okay,
Yeah, yeah, and
I
who
keep
knows? Because maybe it would have renegotiated right after that win and would have changed things for him. So who knows
But
here?
that really sucks, man. When you have a very close, let's call it close. I won't call it a robbery because I don't want to keep repeating myself. But if you have a close decision loss, or you have two close decision losses, and then you have to go all in for your third fight, and you, for example, get knocked out in the first round, then you're gone, man. And that's pretty much. I mean, do you remember Jesse Ronson first run in the UFC with three split decision losses and against good competition?
Yeah, very good competition too. All right. Well, third on the main card of UFC on ESPN 5, Nazarat Haqparast taking on Joaquim Silva, Neto BJJ. Haqparast minus 245. The comeback on Neto BJJ. Silva plus 205. We'll start with Silva, 4-1 in the UFC, coming off a fight of the night performance, a third round knockout over Jared Gordon in a fight he was behind. That lone loss in the UFC is a split decision to Vince Pichel. Man, this guy's improved leaps and bounds since his days on the Ultimate Fighter Brazil 4. And we could go on perhaps about how two of the most talented guys from that show, Glyco França, Matheus Nicolau, are no longer in the UFC. They should never have been cut. We both know that, but that's a rant for another time. Haqparast, 10-2, 23 years old. He has won back-to-back fights after dropping that UFC debut on short notice to Marcin Held. Very active, high-paced fighter. Seems to be really growing under the guidance of Faraz Zahabi at TriStar. Big Marcel, you taking baby Kelvin here or Neto BJJ?
Baby Calvin. Man, yeah, tough fight, like you said. My gut feeling when I first saw it was Nasrat Haqparast because I think he's on a roll. I'm very impressed with him in the UFC so far. Um, I Man, and I'm also pretty big on Joaquim Silva, man. Not the BJJ. He's a fun fighter. I think it was a close loss against Vince Pichel. He might have maybe won that fight. I don't know. It was very close. I think could have gone both ways. Um, Man, I think if Nasrat wins this one, he's very close to a top 15 position, I think. So, man, gut feeling again. Nasrat Haqparast by split decision, and a very close fight with a very, how do you see that, competitive and good fight.
Very close fight. Fight of the night candidate for sure. Give me Haqparast as well. Fight decision. This could very well be fight of the night sleeper. Big Marcel, don't break stuff over there.
Nah, nothing's broken.
Co-main event time, and man, this is a feel-good moment to see Jim Miller get the co-main event spot in his home state against a fellow well-traveled veteran, Clay Guida. Jim Miller is a minus 175 favorite. Guida plus 155 on the underdog. Kind of surprised to see that line is as far as it is. I would kind of expect it to be more in the 130 range. I think it's a little bit closer to a fight on paper. And how these two have not fought already, given their longevity in the sport and the organization, how does that work? I mean, Jim Miller's got 32 UFC appearances going back to 2008. Clay Guida, 27 UFC appearances going back to 2006. How have these two never fought? It's a shock. Miller, 2-2 in his last four, coming off a win over Jason Gonzalez. Guida, 3-1 in his last four, coming off a win over BJ Penn in Brazil. Another, BJ Penn reference. Keep that out. Both still competitive. Miller seems to have more finishing ability at this stage, but Big Marcel, Clay Guida, Jim Miller, what are your thoughts here on this co-main event for UFC Newark?
Yeah, man, we all know that strength, right? Jim Miller, great submission game, great on the ground. Very gritty veteran, very tough. Um, Actually, pretty much almost like Frankie Edgar, only I think Frankie Edgar is a little bit more top level over Jim Miller. Then Jim Miller is more the tough gatekeeper veteran right now, I think. Clay Guida, man, the guy has cardio for days. I saw him after a 5 round fight, he's doing push ups. The guy is. He's always hyped. He's
He's a
such
maniac.
yeah, man, and I never met him in person too bad, but I always hear that he's such a cool dude to fans and everybody else out there. And Man, this is a fun fight, man. It's really cool both are on the co-main event. If I have to pick somebody to win this fight, I'm going with Clay Guida, and that's pure because I think that he has the energy to go full blast for 5 rounds and or for 3 rounds. Now I'm looking like Joe Rogan and Spencer Cyborg, in 3 rounds. Um, give me Guida by a unanimous decision.
Guida gas tank, you're never going to question that. It's something, it's one of his biggest traits. The guy's a machine. Um, I just like the way Jim Miller's putting it together right now. I think he outlands Guida on the feet and grabs that hometown decision on the scorecards by a split. So give me Jim Miller split decision, and man, that's a candidate for fight of the night in itself too.
Dude, I'm
I don't
happy
know.
either way, man. Both guys are amazing, so I'm happy either way. I hope we will see a fun fight, and I guess we will.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt about it, man. It's going to be hard to pick a fight of the night on this one, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts. But before that, we got a main event to break down. Number two, the former UFC interim welterweight champion Colby Chaos Covington is a minus 235 favorite against ruthless Robbie Lawler, number 11 in the rankings, plus 195 underdog. Big Marcel, kick it off for the main event of the evening.
Yeah, we got like you said, Robbie Lawler against Colby Covington. Covington, your favorite fighter, taking on the veteran Robbie Lawler. I'm laughing. I was just kidding, man. I don't know if it's his favorite fighter or not. I was just making up. Um, yeah, Covington coming off a 6 fight win streak right now, and he beat some tough customers, man. Brian Barberina, but most and for all, Damian Maia and Rafael dos Anjos, and he won the interim title against dos Anjos. Got stripped from the title 3 months later, which is complete bullshit, of course, because he had some injuries, and why you should fight 3 months later while other champions can sit out for a year or 1.5 year. Robbie Lawler, coming off 2 straight losses, man, against Rafael dos Anjos and Ben Askren, but that Ben Askren fight could have been stopped, honestly, early in the first round. I think this will be a pretty simple thing, man. I think Covington will probably take Lawler down and control him for 5 rounds and edge out unanimous decision win. And he will probably fight Kamaru Usman, although Max is probably still don't think it will happen, but I think it will.
We talked about this on Between the Links about a month ago, but there has to be more to the story for why the UFC didn't go with Usman and Covington right away. I mean, there's bad blood there. There's ability to sell it. Both these guys are playing their TV personalities. You could have put them against each other in the Ultimate Fighter. There's bad blood between Hard Knocks 365 and American Top Team already. Like how that hasn't happened, there's got to be more to it. But it seems like now, if Covington does get the win, take what Dana White always says with a grain of salt, but it sounds like that is the plan. If he gets the win, he's next, and Masvidal will probably end up against someone else. But who knows? Lawler, though, you mentioned it, 3 of 4 coming off that controversial loss to Ben Askren. He's lost 3 of 4, I should say. But Colby Covington, this is probably the first fight he's had in a long time where he can truly get his bell rung by one punch. I mean, Dos Anjos, Damian Maia, Brian Barberina, all very tough competition, but none of those guys are really kind of one hitter big, heavy strikers, and we know Robbie Lawler possesses power like none other. We saw it in the last fight. Man, I've picked wrong the last 3 fights with Lawler and the last 2 fights with Colby, but for some reason, my gut is telling me Lawler's going to put him away in this one. Give me Robbie Lawler TKO in the second round.
Should,
Big Marcel, what was your official prediction? Covington decision?
yeah, yeah. You should have gone for a draw, man, keeping those 2 streaks going.
you know, stranger things could happen. That would be something, man. Talk about a shakeup in the UFC welterweight title picture if Robbie Lawler and Colby Covington go to a draw.
Yeah, I remember, for example, Anthony Pettis, who was supposed to fight for a title, and then Maynard against Edgar was a draw, and then Pettis took the fight with Clay Guida, and
Look
he
at that.
got he lost by decision, I think, back in the day.
Yeah, I remember, man. There's so So many things could happen
Yeah,
if
true.
that's the way the things shake out. But all right, well, we got our picks. Now it's time to do bonuses, and let's start with the fun one: fight of the night. I will let you go first, Big Marcel. A lot of candidates on this one, a lot of sneaky candidates that you might not think on paper, but when you think about how they might play out, could be fun ones.
Fight of the night. Yeah, man. Let's be a little bitch. Let's go for Clay Guida against Jim Miller. Let's go for the easy one.
That was my initial instinct. I think Donghyun Ma and Scott Holtzman could very well turn out to fight of the night. Joe Mershart, Trevin Giles could turn out to fight of the night. But give me Nazareth Haqparast and Neto BJJ, Joaquin Silva. Neither of those guys are in boring fights ever. So that will be my official fight of the night prediction. My underdog pick. So my options are Miranda Granger, um, Jordan Espinoza, Mickey Gall, Kennedy Nzechukwu, and Robbie Lawler. Give me Mickey Gall. I like his matchup here in this one against Salim Tuari. Who is your underdog? Your options are Miranda Granger, and Clay Guida. Those are
Clay Guida.
it.
Man, I already only picked two underdogs again. So bad.
Hey, you went 8-3 last week, and it wasn't. I don't believe it was the underdogs that you missed out on, if I recall correctly.
Yeah,
But
let's check the other weeks where I picked also two underdogs and where I was 3-7.
hey, but you weren't 30 years old yet. You weren't quite
And
your
you don't
oldest,
have to
wisest
point it
self.
out every time, dude.
All right, my apologies. Who's your lock of the night, Big Marcel?
My log of the night. Colby Covington.
Wow. Okay. My lock of the night is gonna be. Let's go with Scott Holtzman. I like that matchup for him against Donghyun Ma. Performance bonus winners. I will go with Robbie Lawler and Mickey Gall. Robbie Lawler, Mickey Gall are my picks for performance of the night bonus. Who you got, Big Marcel?
Scott Holtzman and Darko Stosic.
All right. Let's recap the picks before we get out of here. Starting things off, we both have Miranda Granger getting it done against Hannah Goldie, both taking Claudio Silva to beat the newcomer Cole Williams, both taking Mara Romero Barella over to Lauren Murphy. Split on this next one. I'm taking Jordan Espinosa. Big Marcel's got Matt Schnell. Both taking Antonina Shevchenko. Split on the next fight. I got Mickey Gall. He's got Salim Tuari. Split on the next one as well. He's got Darko Stosic. I've got Kennedy Nzechukwu. Both taking Scott Holtzman over Donghyun Ma, the maestro. Both taking Trevin Giles over Gerald Mershart. Both have Nazareth Haqparast getting it done over Joaquin Silva. Split on this next one. I've got Jim Miller. He's got Clay Guida. Split on the main event. I got Robbie Lawler. He's got Colby Covington. Big Marcel's lock of the night is Colby Covington. Mine is Scott Holtzman. His underdog pick is Clay Guida. Mine is Mickey Gall. Fight of the night. He's got Jim Miller and Clay Guida. I got Nazareth Haqparast and Joaquin Silva. Performance of the night bonus winners. Marcel's got Holtzman and Stosic. I got Robbie Lawler and Mickey Gall. Man, this got me excited for this card. This is a daytime card in New Jersey. Fun to watch. Big Marcel, any final thoughts on UFC Newark?
Nothing, to be honest, man. It's a little bit early, that's all.
Yeah. Now, I don't. We don't normally do this because it's next week, but UFC Montevideo, Uruguay. Lot of changes coming through. We saw Gilbert Burns now replaces Laureano Staropoli, taking on Alexei Kunchenko. We know Talia Santos is out. She doesn't have a replacement yet to take on Ariana Carnelisi. Poliana Viana in for Rachel Ostovich against Veronica Macedo. What's going on here? This card feels like it's getting a new update every day.
Yeah, man, it's crazy out here. Another two fighters pull out. No, just kidding.
One
Nah,
of these days, you got to break a fight on the breakdown. Breaking news on the breakdown. Man, we'd get some serious downloads there.
yeah, I broke a fight last week, so I hope to keep that thing rolling. So yeah.
Yeah, shout out to MMA DNA breaking Michelle Pahea taking on Sergey Kandashka. That one takes place. Which card is it? Big Marcel
Vancouver,
Copenhagen, right?
Vancouver, September 14th.
Oh, Vancouver. Okay, September 4th in Vancouver. That'll be a fun one for sure. Um, any idea who Nicholas Dalby is going to draw at UFC Copenhagen? Do you know if he's got an opponent yet?
I don't know. He said about something about a former opponent of mine who beat me has called me out. So I was thinking maybe Peter Soli. I don't know. Would be a
Huh.
weird matchup. Maybe they take Ross Houghton from Cage Warriors and they do the rematch in the UFC. You never know. But no, I haven't seen. He signed a contract, so he also signed for a fight, not just the contract, the deal, but also the fight. So somebody has booked against him. I don't know who against who. Maybe it's no, that's the different weight class. That's not true. But for example, Darren Stewart is booked as well, but I have no idea against who.
So Mike Heck on Twitter earlier this afternoon, or about 30 minutes ago, in the works, Darren Stewart and Darren Wynn matched up. Not
Okay,
official yet, but currently in the works.
okay, makes sense.
Yeah, that should be a fun one. And then I saw Adam Yandiev booked against Puna Soriano, not final, but on tap for UFC 242. So Puna Soriano will become, you know, at this stage, the first member of the Contender Series official contract winners to make their UFC debut. Granted, Hannah Goldie goes this weekend in New Jersey, but she was not the official contract winner of the evening. She's just getting this short notice opportunity here.
So who's booked now from all these guys? Miles Johns against
Cole
Cole
Smith
Smith,
in Vancouver, yeah.
Jorge De Castro against Justin Tafa in Melbourne, also
Correct.
official. Yeah,
Yeah, that might be it. Just looking at some of the upcoming cards here, I don't think we have anyone else
no,
from this season set to go just yet.
probably. Maybe they will announce someone tonight.
Hope so. Hope so. That'd be nice. Always enjoy seeing some breaking news on the fight cards.
You do?
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that.
I don't.
Yeah, because you gotta go. You gotta go do the.
Exactly. I was watching. What's that? UFC. What's 240 last Saturday?
Yeah,
And I was watching with half an eye open because I was so tired. I had a birthday party here, so I was so tired. I was like this, and then I saw these are the fights which are announced now for UFC Mexico City. I was like, oh God, I don't have three of these now. I have to work with one.
there was only two of them. I thought it was Vinicius Moreira, Paul Craig, and then Pettis and Alex Reyes.
Yeah, and Aldana against Renault. That wasn't official yet, man. That was
Oh,
just
it wasn't official. Okay, it was just in the works.
not even in
Got
the
it.
works. Aldana got proposed a fight against Renault. That was all. So
Got it. All right. Well, looking forward to some of these upcoming cards. Big Marcel, let the people know where they can find and follow all your great work.
you can find me in Maastricht, the Netherlands. But if that's too far for you, you can find me at Big Marcel24 on Twitter and Instagram and MMADNA.nl and also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And thanks for everything, guys. Really appreciate it. Want to do an extra shout out to everybody in the Loudmouth MMA network. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. It's really appreciated, and I hope you guys are happy with me.
Of course. Yeah. Shout out to the Loudmouth MMA podcast network. Be sure to click subscribe. Leave us a rating if you want. But all the great shows on that network. Keisha and Kyle Steele, executive producers there. Thanks to my co-host, Big Marcel. This is always a great highlight of my week. Looking forward to breaking down the fight each and every week. You can find me on Twitter, trademark MMA. Not doing much writing these days, but hopefully again soon. With this Bellator Fight Master with Cole Williams kind of resurfacing. It was just announced today. Chris Lozano will, I believe, fight for the CES welterweight title. He was on that show. Has only had one fight since in the last 6 years. Maybe it's time to do kind of a retrospective look at it and where those guys went, and
I,
especially those that you don't maybe not know were even on the show.
I saw Keith was happy with it.
He was?
No, man, you reacted on its Facebook thread about it.
Yeah, did he say something back? I didn't
No, I
look.
don't think so.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in this week. We will be back next week to break down UFC Montevideo, Uruguay. That should be a fun card to go through top to bottom. Thanks everyone. Enjoy the fights and see you next week.